We are back discussing what to look out for on the NSE this particular week. We've just taken you through the statistics for last week. Key of point of note for you, Safaricom was 57% of the total market trades for the week. Foreigners, 75% of the market. Domestic investors, 25%. And in terms of the weekly turnover, it was 50% of what we had seen in the previous week. Key trade last week was Jubilee and possibly could be the key trade for this week. Now we are at the point where this company made a material statement last week on Wednesday, and that has given investors sufficient time to be able to unpack the numbers. Based on the strike price of this potential transaction, where Alliance will be buying the general insurance business, 12.3% to be precise, for 10.8 billion, there looks like there could be a possible doubling of price because they are saying that they are valuing a smaller chunk of the business for a value that's significantly higher than what the market, the NSE, is pricing this particular stock at. Not too much has happened today. The stock is up 32.6% in the last week. It's trading at 291. Looks like there's still more upside from this point. Question is, will you be able to fill your ticket size at the current level? Because demand is at 270, whereas supply is at 291. Something to look out for on a speculative basis for the short term and also for long-term value if you are looking at the insurance sector. You know, I like to get into the Ask Me This segment where we spend about 5 to 10 minutes just answering your questions. We have a couple of questions from you, but I would still encourage you to keep sending them. 20146 is our SMS line, and Mbithe Mwema, that's my name on any social media platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and we are here to answer your questions. I have a few questions I will answer shortly. But before I get into these questions, here's an overview of the key news lines that we are looking out for also within the region of Africa. First and foremost, we are looking at Nigeria out of West Africa, and this week the parliament will be taking a key decision to decide how the oil industry will look like in the future. The oil industry has been dominated by a few players, and it has been very inefficient, or at least considered inefficient and quite corruptible. President Buhari is trying to change this by changing the laws that define the structures as well as the operations of the oil industry. That's a key thing we will be looking out for while we're looking at the Nigerian market, just to see, will he get success in changing the law and the structure? And we certainly wish him all the best, but all eyes will be on that key decision from Nigeria. Second thing happening in Nigeria is the fact that the domestic investors have slowly started trickling back into the stock exchange. We have been seeing them picking up GTB, Zenith Bank, as well as Dangote Cement. That's some interesting times there. The market for now tends to make a bit more sense for the local investors, because for the foreign investors, currency is becoming an issue. It's hard to get your money out of the country because of declining dollar reserves. That's an important point for you to note, because the foreign investors who trade Nigeria are also the same pool of foreign investors that trade Kenya. When it becomes untenable to execute in the Nigerian market, you tend to see that volume or that activity or interest flowing into the Kenyan market. Nigeria's situation doesn't seem to change in the near future, which could possibly be a positive, at least in the short term, for Kenyan equities, which are trading at some deep discounts at this point in time. So something to always consider, especially given the fact that the NSE tends to be 65 to 70% foreign traded. These foreign traders look at a sub-Saharan Africa market as a basket. If Nigeria is not doing too well, they will tend to reallocate to Kenya. And the key equities that they allocate to are telecoms, manufacturing, and the financial stocks. Effectively, the top 6 companies that dominate liquidity each and every week. Outside of that, we are continuing to look at what is happening globally. Last week, there was a pronouncement by the United States of America that President Donald Trump had contracted the coronavirus and was under quarantine, being observed. It looks like today there is positive sentiment in the global markets, as well as some of the South African markets, South Africa to be precise, on the basis and hope that he will be leaving hospital and that he's in good stead. We certainly wish him a quick recovery, but the markets are continually watching to see, does he get out of hospital soon? And just any positive news at this point tends to be positive for the overall markets. At this point in time, we've seen some upside in European markets, Asian markets, as well as some upside in South African equities, largely based on this possible positive news that could come out from the United States of America at any point in time. That's an overview of what is happening globally, what is happening in Africa, as well as what is happening locally. Now, NSE for this week. The key news we are continuing to look out for is Jubilee Holdings. I think that will be the key trade for the day that you want to keep tabs on, just to see. There was a material announcement made last week. This information has already trickled down to a majority of investors. What will you do with that information? How will the market process that information? That's more or less the key trade that we are looking out for, as well as looking out for gold at a global level. Gold, which is listed as an exchange-traded fund locally, has been seeing a bit of foreign interest coming in. So we are looking at global sentiment to see, will there be some weakness again this week? Because anytime it comes below 2,000 shillings per unit, we tend to see a bit of pickup from institutional investors. It certainly is something worth considering for the long term and having at least 5 to 10% of your portfolio allocated in terms of gold. Final thing that we are looking out for is some counters, penny stocks such as Fahari, the Stanley Irate, which is now fully owned and promoted by ICEA. They've had some interesting growth for the first half year of the year, and we are seeing a bit of interest. We have been seeing institutional volumes going through this particular stock. If this company is able to deliver very strong results for the second half, then possibly as an holder of this stock at 5 shillings, you could possibly be getting a 17% payout from your initial investment of 5 shillings. The point of caution here is this. One of the anchor properties for Stanley Irate is the fact that they have Tuskys in the Greenspan Mall. Tuskys has been in the press, a lot of press happening there, back and forth between debtors and the shareholders trying to figure out what next. That could possibly hurt the revenue generation for this company. We keep looking out for it just to see what is happening, but the key thing we like about it is that 80% of the earnings has to be paid out to the shareholders as part of the trust deed and the promoter's agreement with the shareholders for this particular one. That's pretty much what is happening on the NSE and what we expect to drive markets this week. It's Monday, it's muted day, it's a gloomy day on the equities, not too much volume going through, but we will keep you updated if anything comes through. Let me take one or two, at least maybe 3 or 4 of your questions, and I can be able to answer that. What I can answer today, always know that we have a specific segment each and every Friday for Ask Mbithe, where we invite you to come in, speak to us, and we will be able to answer you. I have a message here from Kubai, who is from Kakamega. Kubai is saying, hello, at what point can I make losses on the NSE apart from selling shares lower than the purchase price? Kubai, a very warm hello to you from us here at Nairobi. You can make a loss primarily on shares when you sell at a lower price. That's the first way that you are able to make a loss. If you bought here and you're selling here or even lower, already that's a loss. At times, if the price remains where you bought, if you bought it here and it remains here, you could possibly make a loss because you have to cover the cost of entry and exit into the securities exchange. If you are a retail investor, the market will typically charge you between 2 to 3 percentage points to buy or to sell. That's effectively 6 percentage points for any position. So if you buy at one level and it remains at the same level, you're already on a negative position, which is minus 12%, because you have to cater for the cost of facilitating that trade. When you buy, you already lose 6% of value. When you buy, you lose 3% of value. When you sell, you lose another 3% of value, meaning that you have to at least make a stock return of over 6% to cover for this cost. I had said 12%, but the actual percentage point is 6%. That's another way you could make a loss. Final way you could make a loss is if you buy a counter and then it decides to delist, and it delists at a very low price, so the agreement between the counter and the shareholders is not tenable. Those are the basic ways that you could lose. Back in the day, people would lose by buying stocks but not necessarily receiving them. The transparency and corporate governance of the NSE has, however, improved drastically, which now ensures that if you buy a stock, there are structures in place that ensure that the depository of your stocks is done into your account on a timely basis, which is typically T+3 on the third day after you have purchased. Kubai, I hope you are watching. Let us know if we have answered your question. The next question we have here is, hi Mbithe, kindly explain to me what is a share, types, and how, where one can buy a share. We had covered this last week during our show on Friday, but I'm happy to take this again step-by-step basis on this coming Friday. Then we have a question here. Then Metropole, thank you for teaching us about the stock market. Please send us a step-by-step on how to open an account and how to start trading. Again, we had covered it on Friday, but I will take you step-by-step. This is the first thing that you do, second thing, third thing that you do on Friday. So I hope you can join us on Friday for the special Ask Mbithe segment where I hear your questions and I answer them. Please, I have my phone. I hope you have yours. 20146, that's the SMS line. Reach out to us, let us know what you would like to know. Alternatively, Mbithe Mwema, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram, or Metropole TV, again, Twitter, Facebook or Instagram. And we are more than happy to answer your questions. Final thing before I introduce our guest for the day. Over the weekend, we were trying to challenge one another and say, the curfew has been lifted. It's now 11. In some places, on paper, it's 11. Some places you hear that it's probably later. But the moral of the story is this. If we are going to change the narrative for Africa when it comes to finances, you and I need to start consuming less and investing more. So for whatever you spend over the weekend, whether you went and got your hair done, whether you went and spent time with friends, whether you are helping somebody out, were you able to challenge yourself to at least put 10% aside and at least invest that in one thing or the other? Because we can't keep having a situation where you and I provide 100% of the revenue that the companies listed on all the exchanges get, yet these same counters are owned by the foreigners. Some of the latest statistics, Safaricom, you and I only make up 4% of the ownership. That's excluding the government ownership. Yet, you and I certainly and most definitely make up 100% of the revenues, 100% of the profits. EABL, 170 shillings. It has been coming down, 160 to 163. Can you challenge yourself to buy a bit of shares in this company? If you are a drinker, if you are a teetotaler, are you looking at some of the companies that you engage in? Financially, Safaricom, you need a minimum of 3,000. For the banks, Equity, KCB, a minimum of 3,700. It's something to consider. It's something that can be done. Without further ado, we will take a break. When we come back, we will be engaging and understanding what is happening when it comes to the digital payments systems in Africa. We'll be having a one-on-one with Karina Ramberger. Karina is the Chief Executive Officer for Bionic. Bionic is a company domiciled out of Uganda, and the most recent news that came from this company is its acquisition by MFS Africa. The initial shareholders made 5 times money on their initial investment. We want to understand, what is this company about? What is the outlook of digital payments? And how is it that investors were able to make a return? We speak to her when we come back from the break. We want to hear your questions and we're happy to front them on your behalf. See you after the break.